news and the do's and don'ts all around the skin microbiome, from a personal care, but also from a personal perspective, but also from a cosmetic perspective. And yeah, so I'm going to start. So my name is Kristin Neumann. I'm the founder of MyMicrobiome, which is an independent control body for personal care products and cosmetics. And we're all working together on our mission for a better microbiome-friendly world. And this is also why we are informing the public about the topic. So first of all, some insights about the human skin microbiome. The skin as such, you probably know a number. So it is the largest organ of our body, and the most common known number of the size is 1.8 square meters. But if we look at all invaginations, the follicles, the hair follicles, the sebaceous glands, and like all kind of whole area that is colonized by the microbiome, it is about 20 square meters, which is gigantic. And the skin itself, it's acting as a physical barrier against the environment. It's protecting us against UV, toxins, and antioxidants. But it's actually not the first barrier, but the microbiome is on top of it. And the skin is, you have to think about it as like a very complex ecosystem, or very many different complex ecosystems with different pHs, different temperatures, sebum contents, and also humidity. Therefore, we have different microenvironments with a different colonization pattern of microbes. And if we look at the microbes, and if you want to imagine how we are kind of covered with microbes, just a number, we are covered with 1 million microbes per square centimeters. And it is important to know when thinking or working with the skin microbiome that it is we have a high diversity between the body sites. So, for example, my face microbiome is more similar to your face microbiome than my face microbiome is similar or diverse or similar to my feet microbiome, for example. So the diversity between the body sites is very high. And what is the task of the microbiome on our... So actually it's wrong to talk about the microbiome, because we have a lot of different microbiomes on our body and in our body. But it's fulfilling different tasks in each ecosystem. But it's like the main tasks are, first of all, occupying the body space against pathogenic invaders, but also toxins. So as I said, it's on the skin, it's the outer layer of our body. That's the first line of defense. It is actively also fighting against pathogenic or adverse microbes with antimicrobial substances such as bacteriocins, but it's also producing nutrients for our skin and vitamins, and it's working in close synergy with the immune system. It is educating the immune system, but also stimulating it. So it's educating it in a way that it is not overreacting against harmless substances, but it's also stimulating it in case it needs to fight against an invader, and it's working together very closely with our immune system. So what we are facing so far is a lot of dysbiosis, which means the microbiome is out of balance. Luckily, although we have already lost a lot of diversity due to our industrialized lifestyle, we are still okay, but we already see that there's a lot of diseases that we wouldn't have if we would live closer to nature and have a more diverse microbiome, which is of course only part of the whole story, but it is one important part. So the way that we're living indoors, we're living far away from nature. One very important point is also the way that births are happening, and cesarean sections are still a very big still play a big role during birth. And this is already the start on the babies, kind of it's still naked, it's not colonized yet, and it is already facing the wrong microbes during the cesarean section. So ideally it would face the vaginal microbes, which would go into the gut and onto the skin, and these are the first colonizers, which are the base for a healthy development of a microbiome. We are eating processed foods and sugar, which is also all not natural. We are living in a very, or we feel comfortable in a hygienic, sterile environment. We want to clean everything around us, and we feel better if everything is clean, but we have to be careful with that because it's also, again, reducing our microbiome's diversity. And even in the last 2 years, it has risen up strongly, of course. And then other influences are, of course, medications, and specifically antibiotics. They are not only working in the area they should work, so in the like if you have a disease and you want to fight it, but it's working all over the body, so you're also destroying your skin microbiome if you have a problem in the gut or whatever. So from all these, like from this whole living style we are having, we know there's a lot of diseases that are correlated to a diminished microbiome, which are acne, eczema, dry skin, psoriasis, dandruff, alopecia, but also allergies, asthma, and other, like, not related to the skin directly, like obesity and other chronic diseases we are facing in the westernized world. And this is also not only, but also due to our the loss of our microbial richness. So I was already talking about hygiene, but also we're not only washing ourselves, but we're also adding products to our skin. And here I want to talk a little bit about how cosmetics, on one hand, are influencing our skin microbiome, and on the other hand, how the cosmetics market is actually already working with the microbiome and what we should be careful about and what is good and what is maybe has to, space for some improvement. So first of all, the classic soap, what is it doing to our microbiome? So first of all, it's removing the skin sebum, which is actually nutrient for our microbes. Then it is removing the skin lipids, which are important for an intact skin barrier. And if the skin barrier is not properly working or not intact, then also the wrong microbes can flourish there. So there's also an influence on the microbiome. The soap is actively removing bacteria, and additionally, the high pH of the soap is on one hand again irritating the skin barrier, but also the microbial balance. So the microbes that live on our skin and that should be there and are healthy for us, they prefer a lower pH, which is normally our skin's pH. And what are cosmetics doing to our skin? So of course, a lot of cosmetics, or most cosmetics, are containing preservatives in order to be safe, so that adverse microbes cannot grow in the product, but also these preservatives can act on the skin, on the microbiome. Plus, there are other antibacterial actives in which are parts of the product, like essential oils, surfactants, alcohol, fragrances, etc. Especially surfactants, we see a very strong impact there. It doesn't mean that products that are containing these ingredients are necessarily completely microbiome non-friendly, but they have the potential to add up to a product that is not microbiome friendly. So every of those ingredients needs to be chosen wisely when a product is formulated. Something one also has to consider, for example, rinse-off products. In one study, residues have been found of those products even weeks after usage of those wash-off products. And on top of that, we are usually using more products, like, I don't know, I'm using 2 maybe or 3, depends on if the sun is shining, I'm adding a sun lotion. So we are accumulating lots of products per day and do this daily. So all of that is adding up to the influence that might happen on our skin microbiome. So what is the cosmetics market doing? So they already know that the customers are looking for the microbiome and that they're aware of it, and they do already a lot in this regard. But we really have to be careful with the claiming. So the cosmetics industry is promising to restore, to nourish, to balance and support it, but it's really very, very difficult or almost impossible to investigate and to find out if a microbiome is improved by a product, because we don't have a standard healthy microbiome, because we are so diverse from person to person, and it's underlying so many different influences, starting with our genetics, with our environment, with our lifestyle, with our diet, and so on. And that makes it very complicated to, like, kind of, if you want to perform a clinical study and you're adding a product on like a range of persons, and then you have an outcome, but you don't actually know, is this change that I'm seeing, is it good or is it not good? Because a healthy microbiome, but we don't have a gold standard for that. We don't know where it should move to. And I think, so there's a citation I cited here, I don't know if you can read it, from Pueblo Barragan and Reed. They have it summarized very nicely. So if we want to see improvement in a clinical study on the microbiome, we really have to, either you have a very narrow or very specific question you want to address, or you need to have studies that are on many subjects, even thousands, and then for a very long time, in order to see the real effect. And then, but first of all, of course, you need a database for this specific group of persons. So it's, in my opinion, it's kind of impossible to say on a healthy microbiome that you are going to improve something. But of course, there's some cases where you can do something. And this is actually if you have a disease, or if you have but I'm coming to that later, so if you have like a disbalance and you want to change that, so that is possible. So on the cosmetics market, we're facing a lack of regulation. There's nothing in place yet, and the claims around the microbiome are not scientifically backed in most cases. So companies adding pro, pre, or postbiotics, they're skipping certain ingredients that are potentially harmful for the microbiome, such as SLS or preservatives, or they're adjusting the pH so that they would say, okay, this product is microbiome friendly without having any scientific backup behind it. And just a short side notice on pro, pre, and postbiotics, there's actually no definition in the cosmetic space, but we have a definition for that from the probiotics field in the nutrition field. And here it's very clear that probiotics are live microorganisms that, when administered in adequate amounts, confer a health benefit to the host. And the FDA conducted a study, and they found that 90% of so-called probiotics in the cosmetic field are actually postbiotics, which means they are not alive. So this is all it's a wild market. Possible claims one can make on the microbiome, in my opinion, is that a product is respecting or not harming a healthy microbiome. So it's not changing a healthy microbiome. Or, as I said before, it may improve skin conditions such as acne or eczema, where we know where the bad guy is, what we have to change. It's very specific. For example, with acne, it's Staph aureus. If we kill Staph aureus specifically, that's perfectly fine. And you can measure that, and that's something you can do. And for everything else in the cosmetics industry, if you have a product that isn't for normal people, cosmetics should at least respect their skin's microbial balance or the microbiome to be microbiome friendly. And that leads to the question, how can one substantiate a claim? And here, of course, that's what we are doing on a daily basis. We are testing products in the lab with the microbes that are living on our skin. And test standards must be robust, repeatable, and meaningful, and it's not an easy task to fulfill. So going away from the cosmetic market, what can we do? in order to protect our skin's microbiome and actually our overall microbiome, because it's all connected. Of course, as I said, the way of birth is important. If possible, it should be via the vaginal tract or vaginal birth in order to face the good lactobacilli, which then colonize. And the next step is, of course, the mother's milk, which is the perfect food for the baby because it contains all the good sugars that are then feeding the good microbes and build a base on the which then is a good base for the development of a healthy microbiome. Plus, it is containing a lot of probiotics, which are also good ones. And this is also going vice versa, because it has been shown that mothers that are nourishing the babies with mother's milk, they are less risk for breast cancer, also to a healthy microbiome that is happening via the transfer of the baby. So second, of course, we have to think or always remind ourselves that we are actually part of the nature, and we have to be as close to nature as possible. So every time you have the possibility, go outside, wrap yourself with natural healthy microbes and move your body. Don't stay too much on the couch or on your desk. Of course, I'm doing it all day. But yeah, that would be the best for the microbiome, to be in the nature and to move your body and exercise. And then, of course, think about your hygiene behavior. Don't over cleanse yourself, but also not your environment, your home. Think about medication when you take it. Discuss with your doctor if antibiotics they're prescribing are really necessary in that case. Get a dog. Actually, it has been shown that dogs are increasing a person's diversity, in contrast to cats, for example, because it seems they are too clean. And let your kids play in the dirt and ideally join them, and eat a healthy and diverse, colorful diet. Ideally, it's fresh, it's not processed, it's not containing sugar or not added sugars, and ideally it's from your own garden or your neighborhood. So do's and don'ts for the skin microbiome, again, specifically there's some discussions going on or some trends evolving for like the skin minimalism. Of course, that is also going in along with microbiome friendliness, less products usage overall, and less ingredients per product, but also mild ingredients should be used. And maybe you have also seen the bathing debate that was occurring in the US mainly, when some celebrities were actually saying that they don't bathing their babies every day. And I think that's a good idea, because I'm a mother, and it's really not necessary to bath your baby every day. Just like leave the microbiome alone, and if you wash them, water is usually enough. And for yourself, it's good to avoid hot water. I mean, cold showers are even good for your for your immune system as well. But I actually have to say I love hot showers, but it's actually bad because it's rinsing away your sebum again and also killing the bacteria and the microbes. Then wash less overall if it's not necessary, and if you wash, then only wash bits and bits with soap or whatever. And if you use soap, of course, there's a lot of possibilities to use mild soaps or soap-free or surfactant-free soaps. And of course, the diet is playing a very big role. So we have a gut-skin axis, like all microbiomes in our body. Like everything is connected, and if your gut is healthy, if you're eating healthy, this will also reflect on your skin and on your skin microbiome. So I'm saying if you have a healthy diet, then you have a glowing skin. And just for, in the end, some news on the microbiome, since the sun starts to shine, at least in Germany again, when it's getting warmer, and we'll be more outside, about sun protection. So the skin microbiome is also protecting us against UV light-induced damage. So we have to also consider that our microbiome is helping us here. For just some examples, Staph epidermidis has shown to prevent tumor growth in connection with what UV light can do to our skin. Cutibacterium acnes is reducing the oxidative stress on our skin, and Micrococcus luteus. So these are very common microbes that live on our skin. They are helping with DNA repair and reduction of the immunosuppression that is actually occurring via UVB irradiation. And just last year, my microbiome was screening sunscreens because we were actually curious how sunscreens would perform in our tests, and we found out, and this was actually logic, that mineral sunscreens which are containing zinc oxide are highly antibacterial. So if you want to take care of your microbiome, I would avoid those. And we found actually that the modern chemical filters showed the best results. So of course we need sunscreen because we need to protect our skin, but on the other hand, our microbiome might be suffering from that. So we have to also again keep the balance here, not to have too high sun exposure. And if we go out into the sun, of course, you can also wear a hat and clothes and not overuse sunscreen and stay in the sun all day. So that is what I would do. And with this, I'm ending, and I'm thanking you for your attention. And if you have questions, I'm happy to answer them. I'm just opening the chat if I see something. I think, Hedi, you can turn on the mics so the people might ask questions. Or you just type something in the chat, whatever you prefer. Maybe I can also unmute you. Let me check. Oh, I can't. Hedi, you have to unmute. Thank you, Kelly. Petra, so I tried to unmute you. Maybe you can, or you try to unmute yourself.
Yeah, I did.
Ah, I hear you. Great.
So I just have a question with regards to microbiome-friendly makeup. Is there any yet?
Yes, we've just certified microbiome-friendly, a whole series of makeup. I cannot disclose it yet because it's fresh, but it passed. Yeah, so it's very the company we're working with them a long time already, and they know to be careful when choosing the ingredients.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we can exchange. Yeah, but it's
okay.
There's makeup that is passing.
Okay, very good. Because I mean, as a woman, it's easy to put a lot of different products on your face every day, and
Yes,
not knowing which are good and which are bad. It would be really nice to know what's better for the skin.
Yes, I tried. So we have certified a lot of products. So either you look for them, and I forgot to say that we also certified our first sunscreen just last month, but it's also not yet officially out there.
Okay.
So I'm going to the questions in the chat. So from Kelly. Would zinc in the soap affect your microbiome? So yes, I think so. So zinc as such, zinc oxide is very antibacterial as such, and I think also in the soap it is antibacterial. And so we have it. Peter has asking, we have it all wrong, producing sterile preserved cosmetics? No, that's not. It's not the case. So of course the cosmetics itself should be sterile, and if they need preservation to be sterile, they should be preserved, but there's preservatives that are mild and that they're still doing their job, and they are still microbiome friendly, so that is possible. So I'm not saying that preservatives is not is a no-go, but there are some that are better and then some that are worse, and we see that it's also the overall formulation of a product that would have the influence. So if you have one preservative, but not many other ingredients, that might also be fine. So Jeremy was asking, a lot of studies demonstrate this resilience of the microbiome against limited exposition to preservatives. Do you perform some risk assessment as a function of the exposure to a product? No, we don't. So what we do is we do in vitro tests in the lab, and these tests are really, really sensitive. So if a product is passing our test, then we can be actually very sure that in a human, it is microbiome friendly. But as I said, they're accumulating, and the more products are being used, the higher the chance or the danger that the microbiome is impaired. So about fatty acids, so Anta was asking about fatty acids and amounts being less harmful. So I'm not a formulation specialist, actually. I would have to look that up, actually. We have a huge database of ingredients, and we can kind of already tell which products might pass and which not, but we always have to test them in the end. Okay, there's a lot of questions. Frederick, a lot of raw material supply are claiming skin microbiome friendly ingredients. How do they come to that conclusion in the absence of regulation, widely accepted tested protocol? So yes, they either are certified with us, or I don't know. So some do their own testing, or as I said, they're using compounds that are supposed to be mild, and only by that they're suggesting that they are microbiome friendly. But yeah, that's different from company to company, and that's what I said. One has to be really careful about it. Also, it's the same with probiotics, pre and postbiotics. There's a lot of claiming around that out there, and there's a few companies that are doing really great work, and I really want to emphasize that. But the rest, there's so many out there that are, I mean, the customer hears probiotic and they're taking some lactobacilli, and they think it's good because they know it from the probiotic space in nutrition, and that's that is what is happening. I think there's one call. No, Vladimir. I'm gonna put you up.
Oh, hello.
Hello.
So, hello. Do you hear me? Yeah, I have a question about the fragrances, because I read some articles actually that the microbiota, the skin microbiota, can influence the fragrance of a perfumes or the products used on the skin. Do you know something about it, or maybe if you can maybe give me a hint, maybe where can I look for some more literature on that or something?
So that's actually a very great question, and it makes sense. So bacteria or microbes, they can change the smell of a product, of a perfume. We see that in textiles very much. But I'm not very much of an expert here, but it makes a lot of sense, and we know that this is happening. But I don't know which bacteria do what, but we know, of course, the body odor bacteria and how this order is happening. I can give you some literature there if you are interested, but about fragrances in the microbiome, I haven't seen anything yet, but I haven't looked for it. But it's an interesting question, actually.
Thank you. That'll be great. Thank you.
Just drop me an email so I can send you the literature.
Yes,
okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any other question? Hedi, did I oversee anything?
No, you didn't.
Okay. So if there's not any more question, I'm just waiting a little bit more. Just ask if you have anything. And if not, thank you very much for attending today, and I hope this gave you a little bit more insight, and yeah. So I love that work, doing this. Thank you, Wilbert. Thank you, Kelly. Yes, so if anything pops up in your head you want to ask, just drop us an email, or if you're interested in the certification, or if you want to have advice on formulation, or yeah. just drop us an email. I think it was if you just need, I'll write it in the chat. It's info@microbiome-friendly. I hope I typed it right. Okay, so I'm gonna. Yes, they will be available after the recording. Hedi, how is it working?
Yes, it is.
Is it in the chat, or are we going to provide it on LinkedIn?
Send it out on LinkedIn.
Okay.
All right. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much, and it was a pleasure for me to talk about my most loved topic, and hope to see you all soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.